This podcast features immature people talking about very mature content and is intended only for adult audiences. Hello, welcome everybody to The Pen is Mightier, the world's greatest and possibly only audio fanfiction and erotica competition. I'm your host, Paul JP, and this week the Coctagon has been freshly cleaned and we're ready for a new batch of scrawling brawlers to enter and compete to be named this week's champion. First off, we have a performer who gets up to alcohol-fueled shenanigans with the group Shots Fired, and he is the voice of Jarvis in Toronto's MCU Improvised. It's Jason Vulgaris.
Hey, Paul. How's it going?
It's going good. How are you today, Jason?
I'm doing okay, thank you. I'm excited. I'm a little erect. It's great.
A little. Okay, good.
Little.
Yeah. You don't want to start fully erect and then sort of over the course have to sustain that.
Yeah, you don't want to start at 10.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
we'll build up. We'll go slowly. Next, we have a comedian featured on the Second City main stage and a member of the sketch troupe Untitled Black Sketch Comedy Project. It's Nkasi Ogbonna.
Yay. Hello.
How are you?
I am okay. Look, it's like I'm not good, I'm not bad. I'm hovering at like okay, which is amazing in this world.
Yeah. That's I guess that's sort of more on the sort of good side, the green side of the spectrum.
I guess.
Oh. Now I feel a little bad.
No, please don't. Oh no.
Well, I'm very excited to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Our final guest is a writer for CBC Radio's Because News, whose solo sketch show, now more than ever, can be found on YouTube, all 3 episodes. It's John Blair.
Good evening. Hello.
How you doing, John?
I'm doing all right. I'm in a fugue. I have been for nearly a year. Nothing is real. I'm just kind of floating and taking experiences as they come.
Oh boy, this is...
And I don't mean that necessarily in like a super dark way either. I'm just kind of,
Well, it's just we started with Jason being a little bit erect, and it's like, all right, great, that's prime erotica. Like,
Yeah, I'm pretty soft at the moment. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, you killed Jason's boner.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've been working on this story all day, and I guess it's left me a little emotionally raw, a little introspective.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm excited to hear what everybody's brought today. Every now and again, sometimes I get questions from readers before the show starts about, oh, has anybody written about this? Is it all right if I do this story? And it occurs to me that I don't think I know anything about what you brought today, so I'm really stoked.
Ooh. That's exciting.
If someone has already written about what I have written about, I will be absolutely humiliated, and I will have no backup on hand. So we'll see how it goes.
And if anyone has written about what I wrote, I will not be humiliated. I would have gained a new and better friend.
There you go.
Yeah.
Excellent. So for the benefit of anybody who might be listening for the first time today, what's about to happen is these performers are going to go head to head to head, presenting readings of erotica in hopes of winning the approval of the others. And along the way, we're going to play a couple of short, quick bonus games for some extra credit. And at the end of the episode, we'll all decide amongst ourselves who has done enough to be named the winner. So the theme of this week's episode, maybe why we've got a couple people in a bit of a funk, is regret. I've been thinking about what kind of stories we might get. We could get a lot of sad stories about long-lost love. We could get stories about ill-advised one-night stands. We might get Sonic the Hedgehog being fucked by a dinosaur. Like, I would regret that if that happened to me.
If you were one of the participants, or if you heard that story.
I've been doing this show in one form or another for about 6 years, so I wouldn't be surprised if I heard that story. I might be a little saddened. Like, oh,
Fair enough.
I don't know if anything really gets to me anymore. On last week's episode, we had Jeff Clark reading a story about all the dinosaurs from the land before time fucking each other.
Wow.
Complete with comparisons of their genitals to various machines. Oh, this dinosaur's dick was the length of a motorcycle, and you realize, oh yeah, I guess like a baby brontosaurus would still be really, really big compared to me. So
I think scale kind of gets away from you in that movie, doesn't it? I imagine being like as big as a football. That's obviously not true.
It
Huh.
It gave me a sense of perspective, if nothing else. So on that note, I think it's time to hear our first story. And our first story today is going to be presented to us by John Blair.
Okay.
John, before writing this story, do you have any experience with fan fiction or erotica that you'd like to share?
No, this was my first time at bat.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I'm honored.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I don't want to say too much by way of setup because writing this kind of got away from me in terms of how much I got into the characters' lives. So I should probably just get to it, and I'll try to keep the pace up as best I can.
Yeah, I believe the exact phrase you used earlier today was that your story needed a significant edit.
Yeah, I hope I got there. Once I started writing, oh boy.
I feel like you clearly have never written fan fiction if you're like, I need to edit. It's like, no. You just blow through it. You blow through it and you post it with spelling errors and everything.
Yeah, John Blair is his own beta reader.
So this takes place in, I guess, the I Should Have Had a V8 commercial universe, and it is called 8 Ways from Someday. Greg was not what you'd call a morning person. As he trudged down the driveway toward his car, he finished the last bites of a microwave breakfast sandwich and a coffee clenched in his other hand. Not exactly the breakfast of champions, he thought, but it would have to do. Morning, Greg. His neighbor Alan called over from the adjacent driveway. He was already seated in his car as he leaned out the window, one hand on the wheel and the other wrapped around a crisp can of V8 vegetable juice. Even seated, there seemed to be a spring in his step. He raised the can as if to toast. Greg stopped dead in the driveway as Alan backed out into the street, the realization hitting him like a wave. He slapped himself square in the forehead. I could have had a V8, he exclaimed to no one. He drove to work and tried to put it behind him. He was a professional, a rising star in the world of PR, and in this business you roll with the punches. You don't get hung up on what could have been. Still, the thought of that many servings of vegetables and one refreshing drink slipping through his fingers like that haunted him throughout the day. And the next. And the next. He could have had it, but he didn't. It was a humid night in his sleepy suburb 3 years later, and Greg had just finished putting some tools back in his small backyard shed. He'd put a shelf up in the kitchen after work. Little projects like that gave him a small sense of control. He turned back to the house, ready to maybe have a drink, go to bed alone. Working late? Greg heard the voice coming from the edge of the neighboring yard. Glinting under the dull glow of night, a can of V8 original vegetable juice watched him languidly from the shared fence. Yeah, he replied to the can, flustered by the twin pangs of excitement and regret that surged in his stomach whenever he saw it, whenever he so much as thought of it, even to this day. Yeah, just some DIY stuff. I wasn't too loud, was I? Oh no, the V8 smiled. Sometimes I just come out here to think. It's a nice night out, isn't it? The sky had an ethereal quality, an almost unnatural blue aurora. What were you up to in there? A shelf. New shelf in the kitchen. Look at you, Mr. Handyman, the V8 teased with a light mischief. And Greg had long ago accepted there's nothing more than playful banter. Sounds like hard work. Are you getting enough vegetables? 91% of people fall short of their daily recommended amount. I'm staying on top of it, Greg assured. This was always the extent of their conversation, a polite exchange, a reminder about daily vegetable intake. And then hours of reliving the things he wished he'd said. He prepared to excuse himself and head back into the house. Can I see it? Greg stood at a loss. The kitchen, can I see it? I want to see the big project. It doesn't look like a bomb went off in there. Greg laughed and nodded, but still dared not hope. Sure, I guess it's ready to open to the public. They entered Greg's modest kitchen from the back porch, and as the V8 looked around, Greg couldn't help but reel at its very presence. It was in his home. It had been so close by for years, and now it was in his kitchen. It's nice, said the V8, surveying his handiwork. I mean, I don't know what it looked like before. It's funny, all these years, I guess I've never been inside your house, have I? To the can, it was an afterthought. To Greg, it was his great regret, the one that had followed him for years. The V8 caught his look, tilting quizzically. What's up? Oh, nothing, said Greg. It's dumb, forget it. Try me. Greg looked away. You probably don't even remember this, but you know that one morning I was headed to work and you were with Alan in the driveway. And I saw you the way you looked when he lifted you up. Oh, Greg, said the can. Now so close, impossibly close. Of course I remember. I think about it all the time. And there was nothing left to say except the one thing that had hung heavy on his soul for years. Without thinking, he spoke his heart's greatest lament. I could have had you. The V8 gave a single whisper. You still can. Without another word, they were on each other, desperate and hungry. He turned the can in his arms and placed it on the counter. It leaned back in delirious gasps as he kissed along the perfect curvature of its upper ridge. This was the moment he'd only dared to dream of, and it wasn't getting away again. He reached up to take hold of the can's trembling tab. Wait, it said breathlessly. Not here. Not the kitchen. I'm a smooth-drinking blend of vegetables you can have anywhere. It looked Greg dead in his eyes, coquettishness giving way to bold certainty. Take me to the bedroom. Enjoy me on the go. He carried the can up the stairs to the bedroom like some gallant storybook knight, but his urgency betrayed a thirst that was far from chivalrous. They reached the bed and began kissing again as he slipped 2 fingers under the pert metal tab, waiting for the can to signal its readiness. Look, Greg, it said. Have a V8. He curled his fingers inward, opening the mouth of the can with a gentle pop. The hiss of carbonation that so often accompanied such a moment was nowhere to be heard, only the crisp, hollow parting of aluminum, and the sound of the can sighing his name. He drank deeply, experiencing every nuance. Tomato, carrots, celery, beets, parsley, lettuce, watercress, and spinach danced together in a symphony of nourishment. It was saltier than he'd imagined, but in a good way. It added something. It tasted like fate. Like a lost destiny that had somehow come back for him. The V8 moaned as he lapped hungrily. This is almost 3 full servings of vegetables, it breathed, urging him on. Energized by the electrolyte-filled blend of vitamins and antioxidants, he reached above the can's top, pinning it gently but firmly to the bed by its tab. It writhed in his grip as he entered it from below with a confident thrust, and it twisted to the side in ecstasy as he began rolling his hips into it, exposing its nutritional information label to full view. Greg read as he moved inside of it, 28% of daily sodium, 20% of vitamin A, 80% of C, the thrilling and terrifying venture of knowing and being known. At last, the V8 was overcome with a burst of urgent need and flung Greg onto his side. Without disengaging from his turgid, juice-filled manhood, it rolled on top of him, proud and majestic as it rode him to glory. I'm vegetables, it cried out. I'm 8 different vegetables. Greg gripped the can at his base as it drove down onto him. Nutritious, potassium-rich juice spilled all around the room from its opening with reckless abandon as they met in one feverish collision after another, crashing into their shared climax, collapsing in a red pool on his ruined sheets. They lay there, spent in each other's arms. Everything was different now. He was different now. And yet it was as if it had always been this way. As if it would only ever be this way again. Greg opened his eyes, after he wasn't sure how long, rolling onto his side to look across the empty bed. The V8 was sitting at the window, the coronas of streetlights playing on its painted metal surface like Van Gogh's stars. A lit cigarette sat on the windowsill. You all right? Oh. Sure, said the V8, just taking in the view. You can see a lot of the neighborhood from here. Greg propped himself up on one elbow. Sometimes I wish I lived somewhere else. Where? The V8 asked. Greg didn't have a ready answer. The can turned back out towards the view of the street. Paris, it answered for him with what felt like feigned whimsy. And that phone company building across the highway, that would be the Eiffel Tower. And all those windows would be fire escapes, with people drinking wine, lamenting their passionate Parisian problems to the moon. Greg laughed a little in spite of himself. I don't think I'd fit in. The V8 smiled a little sadly and looked out over the expanse of blue night. It seemed a great adventure, it recited, but it was not to be. Greg watched the can gaze out the window. He wanted to reach out to it, but the length of the room felt like a yawning desert. I'm dreaming, aren't I? Yes, Greg. He laid back in resignation. I'm sorry. The V8 gave him a look he could never quite place, touched or maybe pitying, something warm but distant. I'm a can of vegetable juice in a dream, Greg. You don't need to apologize to me. I know, he said. I'm just sorry. He lay there half awake, hoping to fall asleep again in time for his mind to find the dream again, but it was gone. Outside, fluorescent white daylight hung indifferent and cold. The first of his neighbors ushered their protesting child into a car in the distant cul-de-sac. The world had reclaimed him. It always did in the end. Greg drove to work, ordered a breakfast burrito and a cup of coffee from the drive-in, and didn't even realize it until 10:15. The end.
Oh, that was amazing.
That was so beautiful.
You should know I truly hate V8. But no, I kid you not. Like, for some reason right now I'm like, but you know what I could have right now?
Yeah, right?
Oh my god, hello, V8 marketing.
Oh my god! Like,
I wonder if like, do like erotic fan fiction sites have like sponsored content?
oh man, my heart actually broke a little when it was just a dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no!
I mean, it kind of had to be. The physics of what was happening were.
I know.
I mean, this
Only
is.
really apply to the logic of dreams, but
I mean, in this
I know.
universe, it could have been real.
Yeah, it could have.
that's true.
But you know, I guess with the theme of the episode, you know, we're
Yeah.
setting ourselves up for a little bit of heartbreak there.
That's true.
I
Oh,
really
yes.
liked the story.
I did too.
Thank you.
It was hot. It was beautiful.
It was heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And
It had-
I'd like to thank the good people at V8 for the extensive amount of product information available on their very thorough website.
I think you have to tag V8 because I don't know. I always like seeing if brands will sponsor things.
Yeah, you know what? I'll give it a go.
And if they sponsor you, you know they probably didn't listen either.
Yeah, maybe.
But take those sponsorships.
You know, I think V8 came across really well in that story.
They
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, I haven't thought about V8 I couldn't tell you the last time I thought about them. And now it's all I'm thinking about.
I think about them every once in a while because one of my favorite snacks is, and I don't drink. What's that drink that has the alcohol, the vodka in it with the V8? What's it called? Wait, is it a
Oh,
Caesar?
it's a Caesar, yeah.
I love the pickled beans they put in them,
Oh, those are good. Yeah.
and I eat those by the jar.
And those
So
are
I think
good.
that's also why this touched a soft spot, because it reminded me of pickled beans.
So the extreme beans, those are good.
Yes,
Mm.
Matt and Steve, or Matt and Ryan, or I don't know,
Sure,
some
yeah.
white guy name.
Yeah. And beans is with his dead, I think.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we can talk about beans, and I hope Matt and Steve Pickled Beans sponsors you too.
I wish there'd been time to get some kind of extreme bean reference into the story. I already cut so much.
I think it came across perfectly. That was a really, really excellent story.
Thank you. I really started fleshing out V8 as a character. For a while.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
gosh.
very glad to like it. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, we've had our first story, and now it's time for our first bonus game of the episode.
Yay!
And this game is a game that I call A Rose by Any Other Name. How the game works, I'm going to give you all a title from a story I found on fanfiction.net, and based only on the title, I would like you all to try and guess the fandom or franchise that the story is based on. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Our first title is Still Waters.
Still Waters.
Okay. I'm going Das Boot. I'm going submarines.
Really
think I
Finding
found-
Nemo.
I think I found an erotic Das Boat fanfiction. Not only that, I thought it would be identifiable enough that I brought it to the show.
I don't know, some sort of Aquaman, because I'm not creative. Water. That's what I hear.
All right, so we've got Das Boat. We had, I think John guessed Finding Nemo
Yes.
Mhm.
and Aquaman.
Yes.
You know, some of those were good guesses, Jason.
Thank you.
I think the point will go to John on this one. Still Waters is a Little Mermaid fanfiction.
Oh, yeah.
Oh!
Yeah.
I almost said that. Oh, I'm so upset. Oh.
There's still a few more points on offer.
I
So
know.
let's see if you can get the next one. Our second title is Half Machine, All Man.
Half machine, all man.
Is it a RoboCop?
Ooh, that's a good guess.
RoboCop, okay.
I look. I essentially have nothing, so I'm just gonna say Star Wars. You should know I
Gotta
was
say
trying.
it very belabouredly.
I was literally trying to differentiate in my head Star Wars and Star Trek because I literally watch neither of them.
Wait, you're going to go with Star Wars.
Yes, Wars.
Okay. So we've got one guess for RoboCop, one guess for Star Wars. Jason,
Okay, I'm going to go Terminator. Yeah, that feels good.
Terminator. Okay. I think the point is going to go to John again on this
Oof.
one.
Ah!
It's not RoboCop, but it is another robot cop.
Tron,
It's
I don't know.
It's Inspector Gadget.
Inspector Gadget.
No!
Oh my god! Who in that universe does he have sex with?
I don't know. There's lots of villains. There's an entire
Yeah.
evil organization called MAD.
I guess I'm reading it after this. All right.
And we've got one more title, and that title is Piston It Away.
Sorry, piston it away?
Yes.
Like a
Piston
piston.
It Away.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh God. Oh, I know. I have one. Cars.
All right, good.
I'm going to say the Detroit Pistons.
Oh, I was thinking that.
Mm.
The Detroit, yeah.
Okay, I got one. I think I'm going Fast and the Furious.
It is not those three things. But the point is going to go to Nkasi on this one.
Yes.
Because it's not Cars, but it is another vehicle with a face. It is Thomas the Tank Engine.
No.
Yeah. I found another good Thomas the Tank Engine title, which was, I think, Oil and Axles, which I really like. But I figured either of those that I took, somebody was going to guess Cars. And I also figured that without like a supernaturally good guess, like Cars was probably going to take it. So yeah, point there for Nkasi.
Yes.
Well
And
done.
that means that coming out of this game by a score of 2-1-0, John Blair takes the first bonus game.
All right.
Well done.
I mean,
Good
I never
for
guessed
you.
anything directly, but yeah,
No,
I'll take it.
But you were really close with that. Well, were you really? I mean, that's the thing is, the closest of these is sort of a lot of gut feeling on my
Oh yeah,
part.
for sure.
And RoboCop and Inspector Gadget aren't exactly close, but
I feel like it's gut feeling, and then whatever your gut feeling is, make it more childish.
Yeah, that seems to be it, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a
Can I just ask, the Thomas the Tank Engine one was called Piston It Away?
PISTOS. It's in it away.
Is that like a play on pissing it away?
I think so.
My God. What happens in this story?
As far as I could tell, there wasn't any piss play. But there was trains fucking. So
Well, obviously there were trains fucking. Paul.
obviously, come on. Okay, so that was our first bonus game, and it's time to hear our second story. And this story is going to be read to us by Nkasi Ogbonna. So, do you have any experience with erotica or fanfiction before this?
I may or may not, in my high school years, have had a fan fiction account, and I may or may not have written many a tales about romances with the hit. Would you call them an emo band, My Chemical Romance?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I dabbled a bit. I wasn't serious though. I don't feel like I was serious.
What in your head marks like a serious fan fiction writer?
Like you read your comments and you take feedback. I did none of that. I just wrote from I guess I wrote for joy versus
It was for you. Yeah, it was for you. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't the work, it was the joy. Unlike people like what's her face who eventually ended up writing what's that book with sex and whips? 50 Shades of Grey.
50 Shades of Grey, yeah.
The Whip Sex Chronicles, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but from her Twilight fanfiction.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's like that became work, but like that can't be a joy for her anymore.
Oh, that does kind of make me sad to think about it that way.
It's okay. She's so much money now; it doesn't matter.
Loaded, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it's still fun. Sometimes, yeah, like it becomes too much work, and it can, even if you're a bajillionaire, I'd still like people to feel good about their writing. I know I've read a lot of Stephen King writing about his own writing process, and he still has a really good time with it. Mm-hmm. A lot more so now that he's been off cocaine for the past 30 years.
That'll do it. Don't get me wrong. If someone heard this and they're like, make it into a book, I would 100% take the money and take the joy out of all of this. I will throw it away. Okay, I'm not going to read the title. I'll say it after, only because I feel like it gives away what it's about, and I don't want it to be given away immediately off the top. Albany, New York, I whispered as we flew over her. Was she a glamorous city? No. Was she a white-collar kind of town? No. Was she colonized by the Dutch, and did she now currently house a 28-foot-tall steel fiberglass statue of Nipper, the canine mascot of the Radio Corporation of America? Abso-fucking-lutely. Albany, New York. My hometown. I looked back down and saw we were now over L.A. Fucking Dodgers. I floated out of the cupola, or as I like to call it, my eye hole to the world, and made my way back to my workstation for the day, the vegetable production system, where I would be about to harvest some Russian kale and dragoon lettuce. I looked at my laptop. NASA had allotted 1 hour for this job to be done. It wasn't enough time. Fucking NASA. But I knew I was getting into this the minute I signed up to be an astronaut aboard the International Space Station. David, said a voice from behind me. As I started to trim my lettuce, I turned around to see Galena Portanova floating upside down, staring at me like some sexy USSR spider person. I brought you some jellied pike perch right on time every day, At 4:37 p.m., Galena would bring me some jelly pike perch from the Russian food supply. It all started innocently enough. During my first week aboard the ISS, I asked if I could try some of their food, as their food is notoriously less healthy, but usually more tasty than NASA's food. Fucking NASA. So Galena let me try some jelly pike perch. I told her it tasted delightful. So from then on, it just became our routine. At 4:37 p.m., she would arrive with my tin of jelly pike perch and chat for a bit as I ate it. I won't lie to you. I didn't just eat the tin of jelly pike perch for the flavor of jelly pike perch. I mean, it's fish suspended in jelly. I mainly ate it because it meant in our busy workday I could spend time with Galena. Galena was currently the only female aboard the ISS. She was smart, athletic, a good leader, sexy, all the things that made her a good choice to be the first Russian female commander of the ISS. I don't know what it was about her leadership skills as a commander, or the way her fingers delicately moved the joystick as she manually captured the SpaceX Dragon cargo capsule. Or if it was the way her lips moved when she said... Hold on, I'm going to Google because I have the translate here, and it's going to say it into my ear.
Okay.
Her lips moved when she said... Yeah... Oh my god.
Очень хорошо.
Either way, I knew whatever it was, it had nothing to do with me being a weak-willed, desperate man trapped on a tiny tin cylinder, whipping around the world with 4 other men and only one other female to preoccupy my mind with for 6 straight months, who gave me a boner that I could have drilled through kryptonite with. No siree, this was love. How are you feeling? She asked. I knew why she was asking me. Just yesterday, we had been doing an extravehicular activity where we went outside the ISS to fix the Ethernet. Everything was going as planned until I noticed my spacesuit helmet filling with fluid. At first, I thought it may have been pee, but after I tasted some of it, I realized it lacked the distinct, bitter, salty taste of urine. We had no idea where the liquid was coming from, but we knew we had to abort the EVA before I drowned in space. Space travel can be wacky. I'm a bit shaken up, but I'll be okay, I said, taking the last spoonful of jelly pike perch and sexually floating it up to my mouth and eating the last bit of jelly pike perch off of it. I was so worried about the situation, she said as she took my now empty can of jelly pike perch from my hands and the spoon out of my mouth. But I is happy to see you okay, she continued. What are you working on? She questioned, peering at my lettuce and kale. Lettuce and Russian kale, I said, hitting the word Russian with undertones of sex hormones. Can I try some? She asked, quickly followed by, unless you're not allowed to, and blushing. It's free of disease-causing microbes. I grabbed the squirty bottle of balsamic vinegar and massaged the bottle so its contents cascaded over the lettuce in bubbles caused by the microgravity, and offered it to her. Leaning forward, she took the whole thing in her mouth. It's very good, she said with a twinkle in her eye. Okay, I'm going down to work on life support system in the Russian segment. She said as she turned to float away. Wait, I yelled. David Sullivan, make your move. Now is the time. Yes, she said as she turned around. Let's stop denying this. I know you feel the heat. We both feel it. Is there fire? She responded. Yes, between us. From the moment we did our survival training and you killed that bear with your bear and get it hands, disemboweled it. So we had a place to sleep and curled up next to me. I knew we were going to be more than colleagues, and this past month up here has solidified just that. What? She said, confused. You and me, I said. There was a sexual pause. I could practically feel the sexuality enveloping us. Next thing I knew, I was slowly hurtling towards my plants. She had hit me across the face with a now empty can of jelly piped perch. No, what the fuck is this? Our love, I replied. Oh no, I is no love you. You think that? You gave me jelly piped perch every day. You said you liked it. We have ample supply. You took the lettuce right out of my hand with your mouth. I was holding spoon in one hand and can of jelly piped perch in the other. I only have 2 hands. You were worried about me. You were worried about me when I had that near drowning experience. Yes, I commander. All I could think was now, wow, if he die, how long can we leave him in sleeping quarters before he smell? Or do we have to dangle his body out of airlock and drag him around like tin cans at American weddings so we can put his corpse in cargo vehicle full of our literal shit and send it back down to burn up on re-entry in Earth? And good God, the paperwork I would have to do. Of course I was worried. The paperwork is so annoying. I think I misread the room. You have wife.
You have wife.
It's been so long. We've been here 3 weeks. I started to cry. Tears welling, but unwilling to fall because of microgravity. She hit me again. Stop it. Can you not tell anyone about this? No, I tell everyone, and you get sent down on next Soyu, you piece of shit. No more jelly pike push for you. Men.
That's it.
The end.
Oh, that was amazing.
Just so you know, so I didn't tell you the title off the top.
Right.
It was called Cosmosis.
Gnosis.
I didn't want you to know it was about space off the top.
That was a nice reveal. It was a good reveal when we found out it was on the space station.
Oh yeah.
You should also know that when I originally wrote it, I originally was gonna have like space sex, but then I made her the commander, and immediately I was like, no, as a woman, I cannot have you no. She's gonna be better than this. She's gonna be an amazing commander that's going to just be upset with him and show him the door. She's going to be a good person. I couldn't make her have sex. So I was like, I have to make her a very good commander.
Yeah, you have to write the truth of your character, right?
Yeah, and she's a strong woman who knows right from wrong, and she was not going to have any of his space shenanigans.
Oh, that was such a good turn.
I love writing out the entirety of the near drowning experience as just space can be wacky. It can.
Oh, also fun. This is me being able to share my space knowledge. That's a true thing that happened to an astronaut. Luca Parmigiano, who's an Italian astronaut, in 2013, he was doing a spacewalk, and his helmet started filling up with they found out later it was almost 2 liters of liquid in his helmet. And the thing is, because of microgravity, if it goes in front of your face, you can't wipe it away because you're wearing a helmet, and it will just stay there. But during the spacewalk, his partner, Chris, I can't remember his last name, but he's an American. He was like, "Is it urine?" And he's like, "No, I don't think so." And he's like, "Can you drink it up?"
Worth a try.
Well, that's all you can do and then it ended up covering like his nose and the top half of his face.
I think I do remember reading about this. Didn't he just sort of calmly make his way over to the airlock because of his impeccable training?
Yeah, he had to go over to the airlock. He could not hear anything because it had saturated his headpiece. And then the whole time, NASA was like, yeah, no, cool, calm, and collect about it. And then afterwards, they had to launch an investigation because they were like,
How did his helmet fill with piss?
Yeah, it turns out it was water, and they don't know why, but it could have killed him.
This is so scary.
So
you know what, David? There is worse shit that can happen to you up there.
Yeah, there is. So yeah, I love space. Canadian Space Agency, could you please sponsor us? Thank you.
This week's episode is brought to you by the Canadian Space Agency and V8.
I love that. I love the specificity of the armature of the retrieving everything and sending him down in the Soyuz. It's your depth of knowledge on the subject really shone through.
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it?
Is that true about Albany? The statue in Albany?
Yes.
Huh.
It's the massive dog on top of a building.
Huh.
Everything here is accurate.
Here's the thing, as you mentioned the enormous dog, and I was thinking to myself, like, is that a reference to something that I'm supposed to catch?
No, it's just the dog.
This fandom is like, no, this is a real massive dog statue.
Also, just so you know, the Russian I was trying to say, it translates to, I think there's a leak in here.
Excellent. That was a great. We've got two really good stories so far. Does John have the edge because he won a bonus game? I don't know. We've got another bonus game now, though, so it's time to see if everybody else can pick up a little bit of ground. This bonus game is my favorite game to play on the show, and it is called Fill That Gap. How it works, I'm going to read the beginning of an excerpt from a story that, again, I found on fanfiction.net, and I would like you all to take a crack at completing the blank section that I leave at the end.
Okay.
Great.
All right, let's do it.
Our first excerpt begins. Link seemed to have noticed Zelda's intention, so he helped her take off her shirt and skirt. Link seemed to get turned on with Zelda in her pink bra and panties as soon as he saw blank. So where do we think that goes?
So he started to get turned on by her pink bra and panties, and then he saw something else. Sorry, I'm having trouble parsing this.
As soon as he saw...
There's a lot of thought going into this.
And none of us will be right.
Yeah. I know so little about Link. What does he love? He loves getting triangles, right? He loves finding those triangles?
He's super into triangles, yeah.
Great. Okay, I got it. I got this. I'll take a crack.
Okay.
Okay. What was the line? Link started to get...
He seemed to get turned on with Zelda in her pink bra and panties.
Okay, he seemed to get turned on with her pink bra and panties when he noticed the bulge of her master sword.
Ooh. Okay, I have one.
All right.
I have one. I don't remember the exact sentence, but I know what I'm supposed to say.
Because
He saw the design on the panties of his sword and shield.
Oh.
She had them silk screened on.
Oh.
That's just a bonus bit. I'm sure it doesn't say that.
Author's note. She had them so great.
Yeah.
As soon as he saw her, and this would be in quotations, a magic triangle. I don't know anything about Link, guys. I just know that dude loves triangles.
Oh gosh. All right. I'm gonna read the full excerpt, and then we might need to discuss who's gonna get a point here, if it's anybody. Link seemed to have noticed Zelda's intention, so he helped her take off her shirt and skirt. Link seemed to get turned on with Zelda in her pink bra and panties. As soon as he saw Zelda's breast, her inner beast took over.
Ooh.
Sorry,
Ah.
his inner beast took over.
His inner beast.
Yeah, it was his inner beast. It wasn't her inner beast. As soon as he saw Zelda's breast, his inner beast took over.
He saw one breast?
Singular. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think any of us were particularly close, but I'm tempted to say Jason was probably the closest.
Because you just want to give him a point?
Thank you, John.
Sure.
Well, I mean, you said the bulge of the sword, right?
The bulge of the master sword.
Yeah.
And that's at least like a
body
feature or something, right? Like a.
I suppose, but you also said magic triangle, which I believe is a reference to Zelda's vagina.
Well, that's up to you.
Yeah, I think it's. We all went for her crotch, but we didn't know Link is a boobs guy.
Yeah, exactly. We couldn't have known that.
So if anything, I think we all deserve no points, or we all deserve a point.
Yeah, I'll take a sympathy point. I'm not.
All right, it's a complete wash. This one.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
We'll move on to our second excerpt. Vegeta screamed, his head thrown back, mud and rain squishing into his upswept hair. Goku watched as the first orgasm claimed Saiyan Prince, his release making their stomachs slick and sticky, and he moaned as blank.
He moaned
He moaned as he ruffled through Vegeta's golden pubic hair. I'm assuming they're Super Saiyan at this point.
You're assuming they're Super Saiyan at this point, yeah.
Good God, why couldn't you use a Doctor Who one? I know. I'm losing this game. I'm not gonna lie, I'm just gonna say moaned in pleasure to the heavens because I have no idea what fandom this is. I have no reference.
I feel pretty comfortable saying it's Dragon Ball Z.
Okay. Wait, hold on then. I have another answer. Sorry.
Okay.
Hold on. As he
moaned as.
Look, I'm not gonna lie, I just Googled Dragon Ball Z and I still have nothing, so I'm gonna stick with my original answer.
Well, okay. John, do you have a guess?
He moaned as rocks floated upward. I feel like I saw that happen on that show once. Don't when they yell, rocks kind of float upward?
Yeah, when they're powering up.
So that's my answer. Rocks floated upward.
All right, so I don't think anybody really was close to what the actual thing. I'm tempted to give Jason a point just for, I think the best reference with golden pubic hair. That really made me laugh. You know what, Jason, I'm gonna give you a point for that.
Oh, thank you.
The actual excerpt reads, Vegeta screamed, his head thrown back, mud and rain squishing into his upswept hair. Goku watched as the first orgasm claimed the Saiyan Prince, his release making their stomachs slick and sticky, and he moaned as the smell of Vegeta's cum filled his nostrils.
You know what? Definitely goes to Jason.
I'm on the board, baby.
Yeah, you can be proud of that
really
point.
Like a reference happening in the show.
But you can definitely be proud of that point that you actually earned this time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I feel like we're trying to go into esoteric knowledge of these properties. When the answer is often just like Occam's razor sex stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're probably overthinking these a little bit.
Maybe. With that in mind,
okay.
Let's see what you think of this third excerpt. God, Toothless, I'm ready. Just put it in me, please, I begged. I wanted him so bad. Toothless obliged and placed blank. Any immediate thoughts?
Could you read it again?
I don't want to, but yeah, I will.
Yeah.
God, Toothless, I'm ready. Just put it in me, please, I begged. I wanted him so bad. Toothless obliged and placed blank.
You know what? I'm not even going to think about this. I'm just going to do as I previously mentioned and go with the simplest answer, which I believe is it in me.
All right.
Great. Okay. What was it? Toothless obliged and placed his cock in my mouth. I'm going for mouth. I'm going mouth stuff.
You're going mouth. And just so I can be clear, John, where are you going with?
Oh.
In me is pretty vague.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, you got to specify.
The butt?
The butt, great.
Oh,
I am groping in the dark here. I don't know.
Hey, this is the show for it.
So I'm also going to just grab at straws, and I'm just going to be very specific. And this is probably wrong, but I'm going big because I'm already home.
Yeah.
Put it so deep in me it hit the back of my throat, but from the bottom.
From the bottom.
Holy smokes!
So so that's like the synthesis of John and I's answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give that one to Cassie.
Oh no! What happened?
How unsettling!
I can't decide whether or not this is more horrific. We're all clear on the property that we're discussing here.
No, not at all.
No, not always.
Toothless is the name of the dragon from How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh,
Oh dear.
Oh.
And this was one of, when you look up erotic How to Train Your Dragon stories, almost all of them are feature sort of more anthropomorphized Toothless. And this writer didn't go that angle because they're not a coward. And the excerpt reads, God, Toothless, I'm ready. Just put it in me, please, I begged. I wanted him so bad. Toothless obliged and placed his pointed shaft at my entrance and bore his entire weight down on my puckered hole.
Yeah.
yeah.
Hard to argue with. If you know the context, because I haven't seen the movie. Those dragons are pretty big. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of one of the smaller dragons, but in the story, his penis is described as being very big, thick, and shiny.
Oh, okay. Well.
All right, that brings us to the end of our second bonus game. I think on that first one we gave points to everybody or points to nobody, and then Jason earned a point, and then Cassie earned a point. So I think John won that first game, and then we have a tie between Jason and Cassie for the second game.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's more or less on equal footing, as far as I can tell. But we've got one more story left to hear, and that final story is going to be read to us by Jason Vulgaris.
Hello, thank you. Yeah, so I'm going to take it in a different direction.
Love it.
I did not write this story. I found this one on Archive of Our Own.
A classic.
I guess I'll tell you the fandom it takes place in. It's the Great British Bake Off universe. So this is what I learned this term recently. It's in RPF. It's a real person fan fiction because these are real people.
Yes.
Yeah. So now that we got that out of the way, so I'll tell you the title, and then I guess I'll start.
Beautiful.
The title of this story is Mary Berry and Paul Hollywood Have a Baking Party by Skeletor.
Okay.
By Skeletor.
What a twist!
I am immediately on the back foot.
I'll throwing huge curves right off the jump. Wow.
Are you going to be reading this in Skeletor's voice?
I won't. I won't because I don't think. Well, you'll see, but I don't think it was written by Skeletor the character. Maybe it was. Okay. So here's the summary, just to set the stage. This is a summary that Skeletor wrote. Things get messy in the tent. Okay, here we go.
Oh, boy.
The tent was quiet this evening. All of the contestants of this season's Great British Bake Off had already left, as well as the crew and cameramen. Paul, Hollywood, and Mary Berry had stayed behind this evening, like they often did. It was their after-show ritual, and everyone knew to clear the area after shooting was finished so they could commence.
Oh boy.
Mary Berry began to disrobe, letting her pendulous breasts fall past her waist.
And we're right into it.
I appreciate that about this story. Skeletor does not waste time. Okay, Paul always marveled at Mary Berry's nude alabaster form. He found her body so supple and yummy. One thing Paul always admired was the amount of piercings Mary Berry had peppered on her body. She had both of her low, large nipples pierced with large gauge barbells, with large spikes coming out from either ends, and a cornucopia of large gauge piercings in her vulva, including 6 on both her inner and outer labia, all rocking large, creative, captive bead rings, making her elastic lady parts dangle a staggering half a foot from her person.
Jesus.
They would swing when she walked, which Paul found quite sumptuous. Mary Berry was wearing very tight black latex shoulder-length gloves and boots, both of which were so tight that her thin skin muffined and draped over the latex. Paul was wriggling with anticipation. From a picnic basket by her feet, Mary Berry pulled 2 gallons of oil-based lubricant and began to dump it on the floor, as well as all over her person, rubbing it into every crack and crevice, as well as all over her long latex gloves. At this point, Paul Hollywood was nearly completely nude, wearing nothing but his soiled diaper, a large weighted anal plug inside him, and nipple clamps closed tightly around his long, moist nipples. As Mary Berry finished lubing herself up, she motioned for Paul H. to lay himself on the lubed floor of the baking kingdom. Mary Berry ambled towards Paul's seeping body. As she did so, she picked up a bowl of creme pâtissière and took a large, greedy handful of the yummy stuff. She knelt down next to Hollywood, her one hand filled with tasty French creme, her other beginning to untape Paul's mildly soiled diaper, a sticky film of poo and pee coating Paul's bottom, as well as some dead flies and ants. After the adult diaper was tossed away, the queen of baking started to slowly pull the enormous butt plug out from inside Mr. P.H. Paul groaned in creamy ecstasy as Mary Berry wiggled the massive plug that had been stored inside him all day. Finally, Mary Berry pulled the plug out completely, leaving Paul gaping and empty with a small amount of miscellaneous anal juices flowing from him. With her hand that was filled with a creme pat, she quickly thrusted her hand into Paul, creme squelching and squirting everywhere. Paul was shrilly screaming in pure ecstasy. Mary left her creamy hand in Paul for just a moment before pulling it out and then thrusting it again, this time going straight all the way to her shoulder so that her body was completely flush to Paul's big, flat ass. Paul was absolutely chuffed with this scenario, and he began to bong.
Chuffed.
He was absolutely chuffed with this scenario, and he began to bong like Big Ben while wrenching at his nipple clamps to gain more of that haute pleasure. Mary began to slam her arm all the way in and out of Paul, like Thomas the Tank Engine going for an anal joyride.
Our second Thomas the Tank Engine of the day.
As Mary was rapidly destroying Paul Hollywood's ass, he began to take the many pirouette cookies that had just been lying around and start to stuff and shove them into the also wide and gaping tip of his penis. A bit of blood started to spurt from his sad, wormy penis, but that didn't stop him. He only went harder, as did Mary. She stood up and went to go grab one of the large wedding cakes the contestants had just finished hours prior and brought it over to Paul.
No, they worked so hard on it.
Why, goodness me, you little bugger. You are just such a chuffed twat on this glorious English night. I must simply stuff this whole wedding cake into your bum, Mary ejaculated. Piece by piece, Mary ripped chunks of the cake off and started to push them deep, deep inside Paul's seemingly endless cavity. Paul was bonging again like Big Ben, with no stopping. Mary only stopped shoving the dessert into her co-host bung when it began to seep out, and all the cake was gone. Paul was groaning with how much yummy cake was in his bummy. Mary Berry then had a glorious idea and whipped out a fork from underneath her left titty breast and began to feast on the wedding cake, which was a Victoria sponge with a passion fruit buttercream that was leaking out of Paul Hollywood's anals. So scrumptious if I do say so myself, Mary shrieked as she ate increasingly more vivaciously from within her baking partner. After she had eaten 3 buckets worth of ass cake, she decided she was finished. She decided she was finished and took out a neat silken handkerchief from underneath her right breast and daintily blotted it around her mouth. There were still about 3 more buckets worth of cake inside Mr. Hollywood, which Mary knew, as did Paul. Would you like some nummies, bitch boy? Mary said to Paul, who was barely hanging on. Yes, please, mummy, Paul hissed. Mary then pulled Paul up by the hair and forced him into a strange position. She had him lay on his back with his feet and legs over his head, and Paul knew what to do. He started to shit the beautiful artisanal wedding cake onto and into his whole face and mouth, yumming up all the tasty butt cake, while Mary Berry started to shove all the whisks in the kitchen up inside her vagina. They were both screaming and bonging so loudly until they both came in ecstasy all over the place, thick ropes of icing oozing from their pores and shooting everywhere.
Oh.
After they were complete, Mary took the large anal plug and easily tossed it into Paul's boy pussy.
Oh.
In brackets, Skeletor has written bussy, for if that's helpful.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you, Skeletor.
She taped up his penis, which still had pirouettes inside, and applied a fresh diaper to his bottom, still covered in flies and ants, and now cake, and led him to his usual cage hidden in the kitchen set. She cleaned and dressed herself back up after Paul was put to bed in his cage, and she flew off, away until the next morning, when it would all be done again. The end. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Oh, boy.
The minute you said who it was, I was like, first, the minute you said the Great British Bake Off, I was like, doesn't matter who it is.
God.
Sorry, go ahead.
I really don't know what to say.
My first thought for this story is, why were we measuring the cake in buckets?
John, this is British.
Fair enough. Maybe I don't know how that works.
Yeah, you don't know the system.
Yeah, it's 3 buckets to a liter, I think.
Yeah.
Those are very small buckets.
There's a lot of great little details that I really appreciate. When you called it a baking kingdom, this is great. The fact that she just flies off at the end, I think there's a lot of nice stuff about this story.
And what happened to them in the end? Icing started shooting out of their pores?
Out of their pores.
That was the one point. I don't know why out of this whole thing in my head, I was like, that's not healthy. But everything else was like, no, that's fine.
Everything else is fine.
No, I was going to say, but once it came to pores, I was like, oh, yipes.
Well, and they're all consenting, so I think everyone's having a good time.
Yeah,
that's all you can ask for.
It didn't seem like anybody was having a bad time.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
That's the kind of story which, I think in the hands of, a lesser performer could be read with, I think, a little bit too much sort of venomous glee. That could be, very off-putting. But Jason, you have such a wonderful speaking voice. It's very gentle, and it,
Yeah, just a bit of kind-hearted detachment that I think was absolutely necessary in that story. It's already going to give me nightmares, but I think it would have been just beyond if you weren't making it so palatable.
Well, thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Also, I love.
Palatable might not be the word.
I loved how she flew away at the end, because in my mind I was like, "Oh, that's a call to Mary Poppins, British, British Bake Off."
That's what I was thinking too.
I like that they just started adding all this British stuff, like he was as chuffed as Big Ben, and like I feel like Skeletor at some point was just like, okay, what are some British things?
Yeah, and at one point Mary says like, "Oh, on this English night."
Yeah.
It's also fun to hear those things spoken without a hint of an accent.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
One detail that I couldn't translate from the written page is that every time Mary Berry's name is written, it's spelled differently, which I think is another one of those beautiful touches. Which I like to like. Skeletor knows what's going on. You know, I think there's some self-awareness.
Oh,
but not enough self-awareness not to write that in the first place. That was great. I got such a big kick out of that.
Thank you for coming on me with this journey. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
It was I was deciding between this story and then there was a story, a Great British Bake Off and a Mandalorian crossover, which I thought was like fun, but it wasn't. It didn't. It didn't reach this level.
What a level!
Just you're saying we didn't have to go there.
That's true. There's an alternate timeline where
you got it out.
I like that you would just tell us that story and then just let us know that things could have been different.
Well, the theme is regret, you know?
Yeah, fair enough. So it is.
Fair.
That's
fair
true.
enough. All right. Well, that was our last story of the day. So we've heard all of our stories. We've played all of our bonus games. And now it's time to choose a winner amongst ourselves. So I'm going to go around everybody alphabetically by last name.
Oh.
John, who do you think did enough for you to be named this week's champion?
I think that my favorite was Nkassi's, and here's why. It was, I felt like the subversion of my expectations in the story was really fun. The character work was really fun, and it had a really high kind of, I feel like, laugh per minute quality for me. But also it didn't quite hit that ceiling where it permanently terrified me, so I like that too. So I'm voting for Nkassi on this one.
All right, excellent. Nkassi, who do you think is today's winner?
First of all, I'd like to say I think we all have a clear sponsorship deal for all of us. I just want to put that out there. Great British Bake Off, Canadian Space Agency, and V8. I would honestly, I'd have to say John. To me, I don't know. There was, first of all, again, I do not like V8, but the one I don't know. There was something special about me then. Like by the end, I know it was sad. It broke my heart. But there was an emotional connection to V8, something that I have never had before. And it has made me actually like V8. And if a story can touch you in a way that can change you, that's a strong thing. And that's why I have to go with John.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad that I could do that.
Well,
you're welcome.
And Jason, who do you think was our winner today?
I think I have to go with Nkassi's story. It had my favorite moment from anything we heard today, which was the reveal that we were on the space station. I think withholding the title from us was, I think that was a bold choice. I think that was the right choice, and that's where I'm going. I also really liked the character work. I liked, was it David? Was that his name? I liked your voice work. I appreciated that.
Thank you.
It's true. There was sort of like an aggressiveness to David's voice. That was really great. For me, oh boy.
Go with your heart, Paul.
My heart is telling me John, because man, like it just that reveal of it being a dream, which I mean, as John said, shouldn't have been a reveal. It was a talking can of V8 that was getting like fucked by a man. But it was just so truly tragic. for me. And you know, the tiebreaker then, you know, if John has 2 votes and Cassie has 2 votes, would usually for me be, well, who wrote their own story? But you both wrote yours.
Ooh.
So it's going to come down to the bonus games. And I think on the second game, how many points did we all have? I'm doing a little bit too much calculation. This is really not an important thing. I could just call it a tie.
Yeah, I didn't get any in the second one.
Look,
I think
Paul,
we were dead heat on bonus points too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Paul. Look, the world's a rough place right now. Maybe a tie's what we need.
You know what? You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to go the inverse of how I'd usually do it today. And instead of declaring a champion, I'm happy to declare that Jason Vulgaris is today's loser.
Took a real nice thing, still managed to make it mean.
I'm sorry, Jason.
Am I the first loser in erotic fanfiction?
Because that's sorry.
I can hang my hat on that.
Yeah. Jason, that right there is history.
Yeah.
It's not nothing.
It's certainly not.
Is that? Oh, that was really mean. I'm sorry.
Oh, but it was so funny.
All right. As long as I haven't actually made Jason sad.
No, it's a well-deserved honor. Thank you.
Okay.
And for the record, I'd just like to say, Jason, like, don't get with that. I laughed. There was not one story today that I did not enjoy. Let's get that clear. Make that clear.
It's true. All 3 stories today were really, really top notch. So I want to thank you all again for coming onto the show and sharing those stories with me and with our audience. And before we go, does anybody have anything that they're working on right now that they would love to remind our audience of?
Sure, I'll go. I do a one-man sketch show called Now More Than Ever, and you can find it on YouTube if you search Now More Than Ever or my name. And it's just a solo sketch show that I've been shooting in my little apartment since quarantine started. So check it out.
Awesome, thank you. And Cassie?
So you can follow Untitled Black Sketch Comedy Project on either Instagram or Facebook. I'm not going to lie, I should have looked up exactly what our handles were. But honestly, if you search Untitled Black Sketch Comedy Project, you will find it. And to follow us because we have some stuff coming up, hopefully in February. So that's exciting.
Excellent, great. Jason?
No, literally nothing. I'd like to plug the concept of walks. Go for a walk. Go outside. It's one of the few things we can still do. It's nice.
Yeah.
True, yeah. Wherever you're listening from, I'm pretty sure you're allowed to go on a walk.
Yeah.
Not the ISS.
Oh, no, don't do it if you're on the ISS.
You might drown in urine. Great. Well, thank you all again for coming onto the show. Our 2 winners, John Blair, Cassie Ogana, and our loser today, Jason Vulgaris. Again, thank you all for coming. 3 really wonderful stories. I would love to have any of you on the show again, if that's something that you're interested in. And to our audience, I will say thank you so much for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, where you'll be able to get notifications for new episodes. You'll be able to take part in little surveys and polls that'll influence future bonus games that we're playing on the show. And we are a show that is under the umbrella of the Podcavern Podcasting Network. So please go to podcavern.com and check out some of the other wonderful podcasts that you can find there. To our audience, wear a mask, stay safe, take care of each other, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Pen is Mightier. We love you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.